morning. Today we are discussing about an important topic about keys. What are the keys? What is the purpose of the key? In database terminology, key is a very important concept to identify the unique row. There are multiple keys which is used to identify the keys. We know that a primary key, which is the one to uniquely identify a key. Here we picturize the employee ID as a primary key. You can see 1001, 1002, 1003, and the 1001, the employee ID, and the employee name is Ken. The employee Ken should not have more than one employee ID. And the table, the employee ID 1001 should not be repeated again. So that is the purpose of primary key. And followed by a candidate key. What if we want to uniquely identify a key along with one more key that is called a candidate key? You can see the employee ID together with social security number that forms a candidate key. And you can see the alternative key. What if there is no any kind of a employee key which is not available at the time, we may use the alternate key. And what about the composite key? Composite key, which is a combination of multiple key items that uniquely identify your row actually. So depends on your requirement, depends on the data that involved in your database. You need to use the appropriate one. And there is one more interesting key which is called surrogate key. The surrogate key, which is widely, which we are used in our data warehouse. The surrogate key is a kind of a key which is created by the database itself that uniquely identify the rows. So where it is available, the surrogate key that is created in the fact table. And before that, we go ahead with this. What is about the primary key and the foreign key? You can see there are two tables involved here, one which is student table and the other with the department table. You can see the primary key ID 11 to 14, which is identify the uniqueness of the student table. And you can see the department table, which identify the department number. And you can see each department ID, each department has a unique department ID. For example, a student A, AB, who is attending a course and he is belonging to a particular department. And same thing, the particular student may go with other department to study other subject actually. Maybe a particular computer science students, he may not only study computer science. He has an optional paper. He can study the mathematics. He can study data science, whatever maybe, as a basic things. So a student may or may not study one or multiple courses. So in that case, he is going to multiple department and get the knowledge of the subject or a course here. So this give a kind of understanding about what about primary and foreign key. And there is a difference between primary key and a unique key. The unique key at least allow one null value, whereas primary key does not allow even any null values. So that's the difference between the primary key and surrogate key. And if you want to picturize this entire table in terms of dimension fact table in a conceptual way, as I said, the measure value hold the fact tables, and the not only the measure value hold the fact tables, it also hold along with this SCD, along with this your primary key. So this is a typical of fact table and dimension table, and fact table, what are the entries? And just put it in a roughly way to understand it, how the data bit which represented with the dimension fact table. Then we come across with slowly changing dimension. What is the purpose of in DW terminology? We are using slowly changing dimension. As we know that there is a difference between OLTP and OLAP. The OLTP will have the records only the updated records, the current records. If you want to see backtrack your current record, you may not be able to see in the OLTP world because of it has only the updated record. So and it's a normalized one. In OLAP, we can able to see the current record and as well as the history. For that, the slowly changing dimension that plays a vital role here. The slowly changing dimension under SCD2, which is a typical one, what we dissipated here actually. Whatever you can see, the type 1 are, are purely a representative of OLTP. So whatever you are seeing on the SCD type 2, it's purely representative our data model, which is called OLAP actually. And you can see the OLTP, the employee as 123 ID, he is assigned to a department and a particular department. After a quite a period of time, he is shifted his department to a new department, let's say software engineering. So right now he is a software engineer. Before he was data engineer. So when you look at the database, you are always seeing what are the changes after changes only. What and this particular employee is working, which department he is working before. We don't have a record here. That typically see what happened is it's override the old value. It's override the employee ID 123 of his previous department data engineer to software engineer. So, in that case, we cannot do a kind of an analysis about this particular employee movement actually from which department to which department, from where to where. This kind of information we cannot able to do the analysis actually with OLTP. That's come our data warehouse model that will capture your the updated record plus whatever if there is new record which is updated. Let's say we can able to see this employee, the current department and the previous department with OLAP, with the SCD2 model. You can see the employee ID. How it is happened here is after change also, we can able to see the current department, the employer and the previous department. The only difference how it is maintaining the current and history is with the flag actually. That's how in data warehouse model, the whatever the current record will be active as a flag equal to Y, and his previous department will be as a flag as a none. So this identify the current record, and also it holds the information about his previous department. So it makes it very easy for us to understand the data, what now today and what now in the over a period of backwards, let's say last year, last 5 years, the lot of information we can able to get an insight from this OLAP model, and this is a denormalized one, and it's a read only for the read only, not like the typical one which is write operation that we are doing with the OLTP. I hope this is very essential to know for any person in data warehouse world. They need to know about these keys. Without these keys, it is difficult for them to identify and make a relationship between the tables. I hope this would be a very good kind of representation for anyone to understand in an easy way, to think about it, what are about the keys and the important about it. Especially when you go with the composite key, I would say if you go with your car, your make and your year and your color, these three constitute to make your composite key. And the alternate key which is used when the absence of your primary key, and candidate key is a representative of primary key. The difference is that the candidate wise composite key is that the candidate have one additional key associated with the primary key, whereas the composite key is associated more than two columns that forms a unique row here. You can see the SCD we highlighted in a yellow color and the primary key we highlighted in the red color, and social security we highlighted with a bar as a block color, and the candidate we assume that it's a red with black. I just added this 2 plus 3 equal to 5. This is in order to identify the candidate is nothing but the combination of primary and candidate key, and the alternate key is the absence of primary key. I just represented as 2 not equal to. Means in the absence of primary key, the alternate key will be our solution to have in our table. And the composite C, as we know, that is a combination of, let's say, all your employee ID, your social security number, your email ID that uniquely identified your composite key. And surrogate key, we discussed about that, how what are the types in data warehouse model and how it is represented, how we can benefit from this by having the current and the history records to do our analysis to get an insight on that. Thank you.